Hello hockey fans and welcome back to another video. Since 2013, the Champions Hockey League has been widely regarded as the premier hockey tournament across Europe, with the competition featuring 32 teams from 13 different countries every year, and with each participant having to finish the prior season as a top team in their domestic league. The tournament features the best and brightest organisations that the continent has to offer. Of course, there is still a hierarchy, since teams from the SHL, the Finnish Liga, the Swiss National League and the Czech Extraliga typically perform better than everyone else, but the CHL's desire to include a number of lower-tier leagues from such countries as France, Belarus, Poland and even the UK has given smaller, lesser-funded teams a chance to play upset as a potential underdog. Though the CHL was unable to operate during the current 2021 season due to the global pandemic, the past 7 years has seen hundreds if not thousands of hockey players take part at the event. While most of this player base is primarily made up of European-born skaters or career-long imports from North America, there have been a number of players who ended up in the league after spending considerable time in the best league in the world. Since so many NHL alumni have joined the CHL over the years, I figured that it would be worth exploring the more veteran players amongst them who found themselves at the tournament after their long and successful NHL careers had finally come to an end. So in today's video, join me as I take you through my list of the top 10 former NHLers who have played in the Champions Hockey League. Before we begin, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes to help you explore new skills, deepen existing passions, or get lost in creativity. Skillshare has thousands of online classes in a wide variety of topics such as graphic design, creative writing, photography, and so much more. My personal favourite has been the Learn Premiere Pro and Edit a How-To video for beginners in their film and video topic, as I've been wanting to learn some new editing tricks in order to make my videos stand out from the crowd that little bit more, and it's great that I can simply log on, find a class in the exact topic that I need, and learn from someone who clearly knows what they're talking about. Not only that, there are no ads anywhere on Skillshare's platform, and they are always launching new premium classes, so you'll never have to watch a commercial mid-class, and you can instead focus on learning the most up-to-date information in your chosen field. If joining a community like this sounds like your cup of tea, boy do I have just the deal for you. The first 1,000 people who click the link in the description or the pinned comment of this video will get access to a free trial of Skillshare's premium membership. That way you can try before you buy, and maybe even learn something new along the way. So if you're interested in picking up a new skill, taking a talent to the next level, or getting lost in all things creativity, click the link in the description or the pinned comment down below, and enjoy a free trial to Skillshare's premium membership on me. You're welcome, folks. Skillshare, explore your creativity. But anyway, back to the video. Kicking things off at number 10, we have Niklas Backstrom. The only goaltender to be featured on this list, Niklas Backstrom must have enjoyed playing in the CHL, as he ended up making several trips to the tournament during the twilight years of his career. An undrafted player in each of his years of eligibility, Backstrom would spend the first decade of his pro career predominantly in the Finnish Liga, before signing with the NHL's Minnesota Wild for the 06-07 season. From there, the Finnish netminder would go on to spend parts of 10 seasons in the NHL, split between the Wild and the Calgary Flames, where he posted a 196, 144 and 50 record, a 2.49 career goals against average, and a .914 career save percentage in 413 games. Oh, and he was also named to the 2009 All-Star Game and won the 2007 William M. Jennings Trophy for the lowest goals against average in the league that year. Not bad for a guy who didn't play his first NHL game until he was 28, folks? Following a 4-game stint with the Flames during the 15-16 season, Backstrom headed back across the pond and returned home to Finland as he signed with Liga side HIFK Helsinki for the following 16-17 season. Having rejoined his hometown team for the first time in 16 years, Backstrom would spend the next 2 seasons with Helsinki before rounding out his playing career with a year-long stint on fellow Liga side Tappara Tampere. During this span, Backstrom would also be introduced to the Champions Hockey League, as both Helsinki and Tappara booked their place at the tournament during his respective tenures with either team. In fact, the ageing netminder would find himself at the event during each of his final 3 seasons back home, and though he reached the CHL playoffs just once in that span, he produced pretty impressive numbers every year, as he posted a 3-4-1 record, a 1.95 goals against average, and a .921 save percentage in 8 total CHL games. Sure, his overall record could have been better, but his individual stats showed that he still had it. After playing 3 games for Tappara during the 18-19 tournament, and with the team unable to make it past the group stage, the 41-year-old netminder spent the rest of the season competing in the Liga before hanging up his skates and retiring from the sport once the season had concluded, bringing an end to his 23-year pro career. He may not have led his team to a CHL championship, but Backstrom did pretty good at the competition, all things considered. I mean, the guy was in his late 30s and early 40s at the time. He could have done a lot worse for himself, you know. Next up at number 9, we have Mason Raymond. One of 6 Canadian players on this list, Mason Raymond found himself on the scoreboard more than most during his lone season in the competition. A second-round pick in the 2005 draft by the Vancouver Canucks, Raymond would take to the ice in 546 NHL games, split over 10 seasons with 4 different teams, where he scored 115 goals and 251 points for his efforts. Following a 4-game stint with the Anaheim Ducks during the 16-17 season, the Canadian forward made the move overseas for the following 17-18 season as he joined SC Bern of the Swiss National League. Having taken his talents to Europe for just the second time in his career, Raymond would waste little time making a strong first impression for his new team, as he finished the year with 35 points in 35 regular season games. In the midst of this point-per-game performance, Raymond would also find himself in the Champions Hockey League as he joined SC Bern for their 17-18 campaign, and though he was unable to score a single goal in the competition, Raymond would finish 4th on the team in scoring by registering 8 points in 10 CHL games. This production would help Bern reach the 2018 CHL playoffs, but they were eliminated in the quarter-final round by the SHL's Växjö Lakers. Once they had been eliminated from the competition, Raymond would spend the rest of the season with Bern, but he would be unable to help his team earn any trophies that year, as they missed out on both the regular season and the playoff championship. That said, Raymond did win the Spengler Cup and a bronze medal at the 2018 Winter Olympics, both as a member of Team Canada, so he was certainly rewarded for his efforts that year, folks. Moving on to number 8, we have John Mitchell. The most productive player at the tournament on this list, John Mitchell made quite the first impression during his lone season in the CHL. A 5th-round pick by the Toronto Maple Leafs back in 2003, Mitchell would suit up in parts of 9 NHL seasons, split between the Leafs, the New York Rangers and the Colorado Avalanche, where he scored 70 goals and 177 points in 548 games in the process. After playing the entire 16-17 season solely with Colorado, the Canadian forward would split the 17-18 season between the AHL and the DEL before spending the entirety of the following 18-19 season with fellow German side Red Bull Munich. From there, the 34-year-old spent the entire season with Red Bull, continued his strong scoring pace from the year prior, and became one of Munich's most productive players, as he potted 38 points in 43 regular season games. Not only that, Mitchell would also find himself taking part in the 18-19 Champions Hockey League, where his impressive scoring numbers helped Red Bull go deeper into the competition than they'd ever gone before. By the end of the tournament, Mitchell had scored an impressive 14 points in just 11 CHL games, good enough for 3rd place in scoring across the entire competition. Not only that, these numbers helped Munich make it all the way to the 2019 playoff final, but Red Bull were eventually defeated by SHL side Frölunda HC. Ooh, so close yet so far, folks. Having fallen at the final hurdle, Mitchell would return to the DEL and help Munich embark on a deep postseason run in their domestic league thanks to his continued strong play. In fact, Mitchell's 7 points in 18 playoff games helped Red Bull make it all the way to the DEL playoff finals too, but they were forced to settle for second place once again, as Munich were knocked out in 5 games by Adler Mannheim. No wonder he ended up retiring at the end of the season. Talk about rotten luck. At the 7th spot on this list, we have Daniel Paille. The only player in this video to have won a Stanley Cup championship, Daniel Paille's time in the Champions League would be memorable, but for all the wrong reasons. The 20th overall pick of the 2002 draft by the Buffalo Sabres, Paille would take to the ice in 582 NHL games over parts of 11 seasons, split between the Sabres, the Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers, scoring 85 goals and 172 points for his efforts. Following a 12-game stint with the Rangers during the 15-16 season, the Canadian forward spent the rest of that year in the AHL before taking his talents overseas, as he joined SHL side Brightest IF for the 16-17 season. After scoring 25 points in 45 games during his debut year with the team, Paille would stick around with Brightest for the following 17-18 season, where he joined the roster for their trip to the Champions Hockey League. In fact, Paille's play during the tournament would end up being one of the best performances of his entire pro career. Though he was known for being a defensively minded forward, and he was never seen as much of a goal scorer, the former first-round pick would finish the competition having scored 7 points in 8 CHL games, good enough for 4th on his team in scoring. Unfortunately though, Paille's experience of the Champions League would end on a sour note, as his time at the tournament would see his playing career come to a premature end. During a game against Adler Mannheim on November 8, 2017, Paille received a brutal blindside hit from Mannheim forward Thomas Larkin, which knocked him out cold on the ice. Having been diagnosed with a serious concussion as a result of the collision, the 33-year-old was sidelined for the rest of the season before he was ultimately forced into retirement due to both the severity of the injury and him having already suffered 3 previous concussions during his NHL career. Not exactly the happiest of endings, but Paille has spent the last 2 seasons as an assistant coach of the NCAA's Canisius College, so at least he is still involved in the game today, and he has found a way to put his wealth of NHL experience to good use. Next, at number 6, we have Ladislav Smid. The first of 2 defensemen on this list, Ladislav Smid has played more CHL games than any other entry in this video. The 9th overall pick of the 2004 draft by the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim, Smid suited up in 583 NHL games over parts of 11 seasons, split between the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames, where he scored 12 goals and 60 points in the process. After spending the 16-17 season as a member of the Flames, despite being credited with playing 0 games for the team that year, the Czech defenseman moved back across the pond for the 17-18 season in order to reunite with his pre-draft and lockout team, Billy Tigri Liberec. Since then, Smid has spent the last 4 seasons playing almost exclusively for Liberec, where he has served as an alternate captain of the team and has produced strong scoring numbers on the roster. During this lengthy tenure back home, Smid has also made several appearances in the Champions Hockey League, as he has taken part in both the 17-18 and the 2019-20 tournaments as a member of Liberec's roster. Though he has played a whopping 16 games at the tournament, the former first-round pick has produced modest numbers against Europe's top teams, since he has scored just 4 points in that span. That said, he did help Liberec reach the Final Four during the 17-18 tournament, as they made it all the way to the playoff semi-finals, but they were eventually knocked out by the SHL's Växjö Lakers. With him recently celebrating his 35th birthday, and with him still going pretty strong during the 2021 Extraliga season, I wouldn't be surprised to see Smid make another appearance at the CHL once next year's tournament finally gets underway, especially since Liberec can clinch their place at the event if they defeat Oceleri Trinec in the Extraliga playoff finals. That said, Liberec are currently trailing 2-0 in that series at the time of this recording, so will they be able to pull off the upset and earn their spot at next year's competition? I guess we'll have to wait and see, folks. Halfway through this list now, at number 5, we have Pierre-Marc Bouchard. The subject of a video on this channel just a few weeks ago, Pierre-Marc Bouchard was able to turn his high-scoring seasons abroad into a pair of productive trips to the Champions League. The 8th overall pick by the Minnesota Wild during the 2002 draft, Bouchard took to the ice in parts of 11 NHL seasons, split between the Wild and the New York Islanders, where he scored 110 goals and 356 points in 593 games in the process. After a 28-game stint with the Islanders during the 13-14 season, the Canadian forward spent the rest of the season plying his trade in the minors, before taking his talents to Europe as he joined Swiss League side EV Zug for the 14-15 season. Having moved overseas for the first time in his career, Bouchard would go on to spend the next 2 years with Zug, which culminated in him being crowned the National League's highest scorer, the best forward and the league's MVP during his sophomore year with the team. So I think he had a pretty impressive stint in the league, don't you? In the midst of this award-winning tenure, Bouchard also found himself taking part in a pair of Champions Hockey League tournaments, as he joined Zug during the 14-15 and 15-16 competitions. Though he would finish each event top 5 in scoring for his roster, and produce 6 points in 8 total CHL games, Zug were unable to make it past the group stage in either of those years. Not the greatest performance, of course, but given the treasure trove of awards that Bouchard won during his time in Switzerland, I doubt that he's too upset about it, you know. Moving on to number 4, we have Maxime Lapierre. Yet another Canadian forward to be featured on this list, Maxime Lapierre found himself making multiple trips to the CHL during his lengthy tour around Europe. A second-round pick during the 2003 draft by the Montreal Canadiens, Lapierre suited up in 614 NHL games over parts of 10 seasons split between 5 different teams, scoring 65 goals and 139 points for his efforts. Following a 35-game stint with the Pittsburgh Penguins during the 14-15 NHL season, the Canadian forward made the move across the pond as he joined SHL side Modo Hockey for the 15-16 season. From there, Lapierre spent the next half a decade of his career embarking on quite the trip across the continent, as he played half a season in the SHL and 3.5 seasons in the Swiss National League before finishing up with a lone year in the DEL. While playing in the Swiss League, Lapierre took part in both the 16-17 and 18-19 Champions Hockey League tournaments as a member of HC Lugano, and though he would produce decent scoring numbers for his team, Lugano didn't make it very far in either year. With 4 points in 8 total CHL games, Lugano were unable to make it out of the group stage during his first year in the competition and were bounced in the first round of the playoffs a few years later, as they were eliminated by the eventual champions Frölunda HC. At least they lost to the best, right guys? Despite failing to make a deep run into the tournament, Lapierre's time overseas would prove to be quite successful, as similarly to Mason Raymond, he also won the 2018 Spengler Cup and a bronze medal at the Winter Olympics, both as a member of Team Canada, so it certainly could have gone a lot worse for him, eh folks? Next up at number 3, we have Rostislav Klesla. The second of 2 defensemen in this video, Rostislav Klesla has not only made multiple appearances at the CHL, he is the only player on this list to have served as captain of his team at the tournament. The 4th overall pick of the 2000 draft by the Columbus Blue Jackets, Klesla took to the ice in parts of 13 NHL seasons, split between the Blue Jackets and the Phoenix Coyotes, where he scored 48 goals and 159 points in 654 games. After a 25-game stint with the Coyotes during the 13-14 season, the Czech blue liner would spend the rest of that year in the AHL, before heading back home to the Czech Republic for the following season as he joined Extraliga side HC Oceleri Třinec. Having embarked on a full season of play exclusively in his homeland for the first time in 16 years, Klesla would spend the next 2 seasons on Třinec's roster, where he wore the C on his jersey as the captain of the team, and produced similar numbers to his prior few years across the pond. In the midst of this homecoming, Klesla would also take part in the Champions Hockey League, as he joined Třinec for both the 14-15 and 15-16 tournaments. Unfortunately though, neither the player nor the team would produce the success that they were hoping for, as Klesla scored 4 points in 12 total CHL games, as Trinec failed to make it past the group stage in both competitions. Once his sophomore trip to the event reached its early end, Klesla spent the rest of the 15-16 season on Trinec's roster and continued to lead the team with his low-scoring, defensively responsible play, before hanging up his skates and calling it a day on his career at the end of the season. Sure, he wasn't the most productive player at the tournament, but whether it was his strong plus-minus stat or his ability to shut down opposing teams' top players on a nightly basis, Klesla certainly knew how to lead by example. Penultimately, at number 2, we have Martin Erat. The most productive NHL player on this list by a sizable margin, Martin Erat's appearance in the CHL may have been brief, but boy did he make a great first impression. A 7th round pick by the Nashville Predators back in 1999, Erat would suit up in 881 NHL games over parts of 13 seasons, split between the Predators, the Washington Capitals and the Arizona Coyotes, where he scored 176 goals and 545 points for his efforts. Following a 32-point year with the Coyotes during the 14-15 NHL season, the Czech forward would spend the following year in the KHL before heading home to the Czech Republic for the 16-17 season, as he joined Czech Extraliga side HC Kometa Brno. Having returned to his homeland for the first time since the 04-05 lockout, Erat would end up spending the final 4 years of his career playing exclusively for the team, where he served as an alternate captain for 2 of those seasons and wasted little time becoming one of the most productive players on the roster. Not only that, Erat would also make a brief appearance in the Champions Hockey League, as Brno took part in the 17-18 tournament. Though he would end up playing in just a pair of his team's 10 games during the competition, Erat quickly made his presence known on the scoresheet, as he ended up potting 2 goals and 2 assists in those contests. In fact, Erat's 4 points in 2 games currently holds a CHL record for the highest points per game average in league history. Of course, he only played a pair of games at the tournament, so it was a much smaller sample size than most, but hey, it still counts. Though Erat would end up missing much of the tournament, and Brno were eventually knocked out in the second round of the playoffs by Liga side JYP, the former 7th round pick would play the rest of the 17-18 Extraliga season with Brno and end the year on quite the high note. Thanks to scoring 46 points in 49 regular season games, as well as 11 points in 14 playoff games, Erat led Brno to their 2nd straight playoff championship and was also crowned the league's playoff MVP, so it's safe to say he had a pretty good year for himself. Before we reach the top spot on this list, I would like to give a quick honourable mention to Joel Lundqvist. Now, Lundqvist's NHL career was nowhere near as impressive as the other entries on this list, since he played just 134 NHL games and scored only 19 points in the process. That said, he is certainly deserving of a place in this video due to his unprecedented success in the CHL. Since the 14-15 season, Lundqvist has taken part in the Champions Hockey League every single year, while serving as the captain of SHL side Frölunda HC. During this span, the Swedish forward has gone on to play more games than anyone else in the tournament's history, while also sitting second all-time in goals, assists and points scored, since he has registered 23 goals and 55 points in 65 CHL games. If that's not incredible enough though, Lundqvist has also led Frölunda to the CHL playoff final on 5 separate occasions, where he has clinched the trophy 4 different times, tying the record for the most CHL championships alongside 3 of his fellow teammates. Oh, and he was also named the league's MVP during the 16-17 season, thanks to scoring 14 points in 13 games that year, just in case you needed something else to be impressed by, you know. So during his 6 appearances at the CHL, Joel Lundqvist has not only helped Frölunda become a juggernaut at the competition, he has cemented his legacy as one of the best players the tournament has ever seen. If that's not worthy of an honourable mention, I don't know what is, folks. And finally, at number 1, we have Matt Stajan, the only player on this list to have suited up in over 1,000 NHL games. Matt Stajan takes the top spot on this list, having followed up his long and successful North American career with a trip to the CHL. A second-round pick in the 2002 draft by the Toronto Maple Leafs, Stajan took to the ice in parts of 15 seasons in the NHL, split between the Leafs and the Calgary Flames, where he scored 146 goals and 413 points in 1,003 NHL games for his efforts. Following his 8th year with the Flames during the 17-18 season, the Canadian forward would take his talents overseas for the first time in his pro career as he joined DEL side Red Bull Munich for the 18-19 season. Having made the move to Germany, the 35-year-old forward would spend the entire year on Munich's roster and quickly put his NHL caliber skills on display, as he finished 3rd on the team in scoring with 33 points in 52 regular season games. In the midst of this lone year abroad, Stajan would also find himself at the Champions Hockey League as Munich took part in the 18-19 tournament. Unfortunately though, the ageing forward struggled to make an impact at the event, as he registered just a single point, a -1 and 6 penalty minutes in 9 CHL games. Despite this lackluster performance, Munich were able to reach the 2019 playoff final before they were defeated by the routine champions Frölunda HC. Not exactly the greatest performance at the tournament, but given that he spent over a decade and a half in the best league in the world, and he suited up in over 1,000 NHL games, I don't think Stajan will dwell on this performance too much as he enjoys his retirement from the sport, do you folks? And that was my list of the top 10 former NHLers who have played in the Champions Hockey League. What do you guys think about this list? Were you surprised to see some of these players had suited up at the tournament, or did I leave someone completely obvious out? Let me know in the comments below, I would love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching guys, I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye! A big thank you to Carl Fairbank, Connor B, Drew Fawcett, Houston NG, Jordan Whitehead, Saturn Otaku, Tom from Finland, Twin Sanity Dad and Worthless Pieces for helping support this video via Patreon. If you too want to help support the channel a little bit further and get a shout out at the end of every future video, make sure you head over to patreon.com/oddmanrush and become a patron today.